Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I am the owner and head firearms instructor of Patriot Training. The topic of this video, I know how to shoot. Many people, when they meet a person that they find out is a firearms instructor, they will say, "Oh, I know how to shoot." Why is that? Well, I think it may be some subconscious level. A person doesn't want to be seen as worthless to society, and we have an inherent need to feel as if we can defend ourselves. And without a doubt, this is based in the Dunning-Kruger effect, and there will be a separate video on that one, my friends. But to get to a more mechanical meaning, a lot of people believe that knowing how to shoot means they know how to pull a trigger. Others may say that they know how to shoot, and in their mind that means that they know how to operate the gun. They can load it, they can unload it, they can take it off safety, shoot it, what have you. And without a doubt, those things are good. Those things are important to know. What escapes these people is they have this perception that a firearms class is lining everybody up and showing them which end is the muzzle and how to pull the trigger. And nothing could be further from the truth. There's a lot more to it than that. And we must delve into, we must investigate why firearms classes exist. In firearms classes for civilians, help people to learn the ins and outs of manipulating their gun and shooting their gun accurately, and even presentation of the gun, and we'll go into that in a moment. But they could be used for, a civilian might use a firearm for sport, self-defense, casual enjoyment, and hunting. These are all perfectly legitimate uses of firearms, and there are others too, my friends. But more on the essential elements. At Patriot Training, we realize that there are several essential elements to knowing how to use a firearm. And somebody asked me many years ago, and I formulated this explanation, and they said, boil it all down for me, Clay. What do I need to know? And I said, there's three main things you really need to know. First and foremost is marksmanship. You've got to be able to hit your target. If you can't hit your target, you're just wasting ammo, and you become a threat and a nuisance to yourself and others. A second equally important reason or thing to know is you need to know presentation. For a pistol, that means drawing the gun. For a rifle, that could mean a ready up. Broadly speaking, it is taking that gun from a situation where you are not using it and deploying it into action where you do need to use it. And that would apply to hunting, that would apply to self-defense, that would apply to sport, and it would certainly apply to casual recreational shooting as well. So we have marksmanship, we have presentation, and then we also have manipulation. You need to know how to manipulate the gun. That means how to load it, how to unload it, and how to clear malfunctions. You need to know how the gun works, how to fix it when it stops working. As we talk about these things, it's far more common to have a man say, "I know how to shoot," than a woman. And interestingly enough, there is a big difference in the mindset of a man and a woman when they take a class as well. Women tend to come to a class to learn. And A larger number of men than should be come to a class in order to show off. And I think back, and I can think of maybe one, maybe two women I've ever seen on the line that did not come to learn. And that's classes I've taught and classes I've taken. And that's just overwhelmingly women come to learn. It's been a long time since I've had a class where a man didn't come to show off. It's not every man, but it's at least one or two men in every class. I'm reminded of a class that was held, a Patriot Training class. And we had a participant in that class, and he was there with a friend or two. And at the beginning of class, we always go around the room and, tell me your name, where are you from, what do you do, and then why are you here? And this participant said that he was there to beat his friend who was there at class. And I was very confused and I asked him, I said, look, how do you mean beat him? It's not like we are earning points. I don't have an examination. I'm not quite sure how you're going to beat him. And he clarified, he just said he wanted to shoot better. And this is not the only person that's ever taken a class that said that. I'm just reminded of this one because it was so very typical of what happens. Every single time I've seen somebody make a statement to that effect, or I'm just here to show off, or what have you, those individuals tend to have a very, very long day or a very, very long weekend. They do not tend to be the top level shooters. Here's a hint. If you ever go to like a shooting competition of some sort, the guy that's bragging about how good he's going to do is not going to do that good. The guy who scores at the top, he's the one that's going about his business like a consummate professional and just doing the next thing next. He's acting like he's been there before and done that and got the t-shirt. And so that said, it becomes very important because this happens so much. It becomes very important to make a distinction between a firearms class and a firearms competition. And make no mistake, a competition is good. Competitions are really fun. I have competed in several different disciplines, had a blast, just absolutely fun. I highly recommend competitions. But Patriot Training does not host firearms competitions. What we host is we teach firearms classes. And simply put, if you want to make a distinction, if you would like me to define each one, because the definition of a word is very important. A class is where you acquire and hone skills. A competition is where you demonstrate and test your skills, preferably against other skilled individuals. Because so many women, getting back to this topic, listen and come to class to learn, more often than not, it's the woman who makes the greatest improvement over the course of the firearms class that weekend. They're there to listen. Back to the main topic. When somebody says they know how to shoot, I suggest that there's a lot more to knowing how to shoot than just pulling a trigger. And I don't mean just manipulating the gun either. But the funny thing is the number one mistake we see in classes, including people who know how to shoot, is we'll see somebody jerking on that trigger. The great Clint Smith of Thunder Ranch once said the number one cause of shots missed downrange is the jerking the trigger. And that's absolutely true based on my observations. I'm reminded of a class that happened recently and several participants in the class, and this was a class I was assisting. I was not the primary instructor. It was not technically a Patriot Training class, and one of the participants said that they knew how to shoot. They were there to just get the ins and outs of their new gun. And I made a knowing glance to my fellow assistant instructor, who is also an instructor with Patriot Training, and discussed very quietly with the head instructor, and said that's the person I'm going to be on. And wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, that was the person that more than anybody there did not know how to shoot. This individual had a very difficult time putting shots on target. I'll give you a counter example. Something done the right way. I took Rifleman 1 from Valor Ridge, and let me stop and say, take a class with Reed Hendricks of Valor Ridge. Great guy, outstanding instructor, really good material, tons and tons of fun. You're going to learn a lot. Really good stuff. So I was taking Rifleman 1 at Valor Ridge, and at the beginning of day 1, we're out on the range and we're going to confirm the 0 on our rifle. And as we got into our prone position, as we got a good stable position, Reed had a different methodology to his marksmanship than I do. And so instead of telling Reed that I knew how to shoot or just applying what I knew anyways, I did it exactly as Reed said. And lo and behold, we get down range a few moments later after we had fired our 3 shots. And all 3 of mine were in the center circle, and Reed looks at that and points. He goes, "Hey, good shooting, bunny." Wonderful time. I like to give another example here. So I've given you like the negative, I've given you the positive, and here's a little something in between. I can think of a couple of firearm schools that are really, really good firearm schools. I've attended both. And when it comes to pistol, one of these schools teaches that when you're reholstering that you need to keep your head up. The other school says to look your pistol into the holster every time. The first school, they say keep your head up because the world can change in an instant. And if it does, you need to be able to see that so you can react and get your gun into the fight. And that school is absolutely correct. That is true. The other school that teaches looking down says, hey, if you feel that the attacker is still a threat, you should keep your gun out. Only reholster when you're absolutely convinced that the danger has passed. And they are correct. So which one is it? Well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you that they're both teaching the same thing, even though it sounds polar opposite. Both schools are teaching the same thing. You see, the first school teaches you to run your thumb across the top of the holster before you put your pistol inside of it, to make sure the holster is clear of clothing or any other objects, because they know very well that the number one cause of accidental discharges on the range in a pistol class is something caught up in the holster. Actuates the trigger against the person's wishes. The other school teaches you to look into your holster so that you can visually inspect as well and make sure the holster is clear of any foreign objects, any clothing or other objects to get in the way. So as you see, my friends, they are both teaching, both schools are teaching the same thing, they just have a different methodology of teaching it. Which one does Patriot Training teach? You're going to have to take Essential Pistol to find out, my friends. So wrapped up with a few anecdotes there of some things that might show that maybe you don't know everything there is to know about a gun. I'm learning every day. And in summary, I will say this. Even a chimpanzee can pull a trigger. And you notice I don't even say trained chimpanzee. Even a chimpanzee can pull a trigger. And the people who are really, really top shots never go around saying, I know how to shoot. You'll never hear them say it. Read into that what you will. That said, I would like to remind you that you do not have to be a patriot to train, but you do have to train to be a patriot. Take care.